Two men journey to the bars and restaurants of Scandinavia to find amazing beers, always with the same question.
Hey, what's on tap?
It's time to find out.
Welcome to What's on Tap podcast. And today we have a very special treat for you because Teal has released their Mrs. series. And it's September 1st, so it's available everywhere in the world at the exact same time. Mathias couldn't join us today, so instead I am joined once again by the lovely and delightful Karin and Martin. So welcome again to What's on Tap podcast.
Thank you so much. It's so lovely to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you guys, and I thought we couldn't do the Mrs. series without having some sort of female representation on the show to present a lady's point of view.
Is that so?
Also class up the joint a little bit.
Yeah, of course, and of course my female reproductive parts will of course make the taste of the beer different.
Well, it just gives a female perspective. I think that's sorely missing from a lot of beer podcasts and beer review shows. So
definitely. So I feel like I'm here as a bonus. Last time I was a part, I got drunk and tried to take over the podcast.
You did.
You would not let me. So let's make another attempt tonight.
I try to keep it on point and keep it moving forward. So we'll see how it goes tonight. So we have 5 of the 6 beers. We are missing the Mrs. Grey, which is an Earl Grey Bière de Garde. I'm sure it's delicious. I haven't had that many Earl Grey tea beers, but I know it's kind of a thing that's up and coming. But tonight we still have 5 of them, and they are all looking very interesting and very challenging and different. So what do you guys think? Are you excited about this? Are you interested?
Definitely.
Very. They look amazing. And the 5 glasses I have in front of me are very different. And I look forward to seeing what they've thought up.
All right. So just from the outset, which one are you looking forward to the most?
Bloody Mary India Pale Ale.
Yeah, the Bloody Mary India
So that
Pale
is
Ale.
the Miss Scarlet. And I will say that the Miss Scarlet is, I think, going to be the most challenging of the lot. I've had one Bloody Mary IPA before, and I was not a huge fan. So I'm very curious to see what Teal does with this. So it should be quite interesting. But we're going to start with a Mrs. Teal, which is a seaweed goza. Mm-hmm. And so let's just give it a quick look. It's very clean, very pretty looking beer. It
is?
I think so. I think it looks very nice in the glass. It has a beautiful smell.
Smell isn't too much seaweed. It's not too much salt. It's not.
It kind of smells a little bit like seawater. I think a little bit of maybe a citrus note to it.
Maybe I've just been to the Malmö Ribersborg beach too much.
Okay, well that's a very funky smell. I don't think anyone should ever have to smell that. That's like death on a beach. It's quite vile. But have you had seaweed gozas before?
Yeah.
Definitely seaweed beers, but I don't remember them.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing about beers. If you have too many, you don't remember them.
Yeah, they all kind of run together. All right. Well, cheers, guys. Let's go ahead and jump into this. Our first beer of the evening. You definitely get the saltiness from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. A lot of saltiness, but not that. Maybe a bit of seaweed. Yeah. But the good kind of seaweed, not the disgusting kind of seaweed.
Disgusting rotting seaweed on the beach.
No.
But the problem is, I don't know what seaweed is supposed to taste like in the context of beer. It's one of those things like one of those flavors that I'm not familiar with enough to be able to identify like what is seaweed.
But you need to go to a good sushi place.
I've been to several good sushi places, but I still couldn't be like that is like for me seaweed is almost like a benign flavor. It doesn't really kind of have a flavor one way or the other. Even if you eat like seaweed chips, it's just kind of like eating paper almost.
Yeah, but I had seaweed this morning.
Okay.
And it really reminds me of this. And it's mostly salty. But other than that, maybe until it ferments, it doesn't have a flavor.
No.
Yeah, so I'm also having trouble describing it other than slightly vegetable-y in the aftertaste.
So I think it's very dry. I think it finishes really clean.
Yeah.
Just really neat. It just kind of, I think it has a lot of flavor in the mouth when you first taste it. It's kind of sour.
Yeah.
It's a little fruity, but then when it finishes, it just drops. Very, very clean.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I quite like this. I gotta say, I think we're off to a great start.
Oh yeah,
It's a
really
great
good.
it's a great goza, but if someone said this is a goza with no additional ingredients, I would believe them.
But goza are supposed to be salty.
Yes.
Yeah.
So goza with the salty ingredients.
Yeah.
You can make a peanut goza, and it was.
I guess technically you could do salted peanuts if you tried.
Yeah. Anyone listening? Any brewers? Hey, fuck! I'm a brewer.
Patent pending. Don't steal it.
Yeah. But I would say, yeah, you're right. If someone just handed me this as and said it was a goza, I would not think it was pushed in any direction or any flavor in particular. I think as a goza standalone, it's really good. The addition of seaweed, I don't know that really adds much in the flavor profile. But I mean, that's just me.
Agreed.
Yeah, agree.
Okay. Right. So how would you rate this one?
On the untapped scale, it
Yeah,
lands
0 to 5. You can do
3.75 maybe.
3.75. All right, Karin?
3.
3. All right. I am going to go with like a 3.5. I think it's a solid goza, but it doesn't. From the other gozas I've had, like Goza to Hollywood or the Berliner Weiss, things like that, where I think they really excel and just kill it. I think this is just a really nice base goza. All right. So next up is the Miss Magenta. It is a dragon fruit and strawberry Berliner Weiss, and this has it. You do get kind of the strawberry dragon fruity kind of color to it.
Sure, it looks quite similar to the.
It's a bit darker than the goza.
It's a bit darker than the goza, yeah.
Yeah, it is dark, but it's sort of. This is what Dale's Pale Ale looks like.
What's interesting about the goza is it's very like almost a little effervescent in the glass. You can still see the bubbles along the bottom, but this just looks a little cloudy.
Yeah.
A little apricotish kind of.
Yeah.
But if you agitate it, it does foam up quite nicely in the glass still. So there's still a lot of residual carbonation going on in the glass.
Cheers.
No, smell like you're jumping the gun, buddy.
I haven't tasted
the process here. You're getting ahead of the curve here.
I'm excited.
I don't get much smell from this.
I don't get hardly any smell from this. This one I get more of a vegetable-y smell from it.
Yeah.
I don't feel strawberries. And for me, dragon fruit is not really a strong flavored fruit to begin with.
No.
All right. Well, cheers, guys.
Cheers, you
I
guys.
get to cheers.
Oh yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. The flavor.
The flavor happened.
Yep.
Yeah, that is really drinkable. That is.
It really has the aftertaste. Really tastes like the aftertaste after a strawberry, where your entire palate is engaged.
Yeah. A strawberry that you just sort of picked out of the field, just ate in the summer without any sugar on it.
No.
Yeah, definitely.
I really like. I'm surprised at how much for it to smell kind of almost nothing to have so much flavor in the first taste and then the aftertaste to really get that citric acid kind of strawberry flavor to it. That's
you can feel it sort of in the back of your mouth.
no,
Yeah.
it's really nice. I quite like this. So yeah, this is I guess this would be the third line in the Mr. Miss series because they had the bottles a couple of years ago. They released individually.
Yeah.
They were kind of in a reservoir doggish, not doggy, but
Yeah,
reservoir
Mr.
doggish
Blue,
kind
Mr.
of
Pink, Mr.
theme.
Exactly.
And then they released the next year's, or I guess earlier this year, maybe. It was all of them at the exact same time. And that was quite interesting. And that came about because there were a couple of bars in, I think, the UK that said, hey, can we get all of these at the exact same time? And they were like, sure, I guess so. And so they released them all at once, and it became really popular. I guess this was last year. So then when it came out this year, they duplicated it, and it kind of became a marketing thing all over the world. So I think they're doing a really good thing here. I can only imagine logistics of trying to put out 6 beers at the exact same time. It can be quite daunting for any brewer, no matter what size brewer you are. All right, moving on. The one that we're all very perplexed, I think, about.
Yes.
Because this is the Miss Scarlet Bloody Mary IPA. The color on this is incredible. It looks like almost like a burgundy wine.
Yeah.
Kind
Yes.
of. It is very red. Like you'd almost expect the strawberry dragon fruit to be more of a red color.
Definitely.
And then this to be more of a
Teal?
lighter,
Yeah.
IPA-ish kind of color. But this is definitely just
This
red.
looks like what you pour off of beets.
It does. I wouldn't be surprised if there was beets in this, but they just didn't mention it. I have no idea. I don't think it says on the can anywhere.
Nah, probably not.
But a Bloody Mary doesn't contain beets.
No.
No,
Oh,
it's supposed
you know
to
what?
contain tomato and stuff.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Let's go back. There's a little description on here. I need to read these descriptions. I love their descriptions. So for the seaweed goza, we'll have to do this for the next 3 beers as well.
Oh my god.
Danish pear tree, Brett with Icelandic kelp come together in this goza mashup, bringing oceanic resonance to your glass, fresh, thirst crushing with a briny backbone.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a pretty good description. I could see a little bit of pear in there. And then for the dragon fruit and strawberry Berliner Weiss, Miss Magenta, it says, a tempting Berliner Weiss packed with dragon fruit and strawberry, combining subtle sweet berries and sourness in one go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they feel that?
They
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah.
So about this one.
So this one, they say, twisting traditions yet again, Miss Scarlet is a Bloody Mary-inspired IPA with a base of tomato balanced with celery, chipotle chili, and black pepper.
Wow.
All right, so now that I know that, that's really going to jade my opinion of this because chipotle is an extremely strong smelling.
Yes.
I mean, you should smell chipotle on this.
Yeah, and we don't, do
I
we?
don't smell any chipotle at all.
No,
that
none.
and celery is also really a pungent scent. I mean, you know celery, you know chipotle.
Also tomatoes.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of tomato beers, and they often go off in a very bad direction.
Yeah.
I don't particularly like tomato beers. During a beer festival earlier this year, the 3 of us tried a Bloody Mary Berliner Weisse,
Yeah.
where they actually put a stick of celery in the glass, and they took some pepper, and that actually tasted like a actual Bloody Mary.
It did.
The drink.
Yeah.
But it was it had a gimmick feel to it.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
celery
but
stick gave it much of a gimmick. What's interesting with this one is even when you agitate it, it does not foam up hardly at all. I mean, you kind of have to get a little aggressive with it, but it is not foamy at all. Although when I do that, I do get more of the tomato smell from it.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it definitely gets more of the Bloody Mary smell when you kind of.
I got a bit of a...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. That was a very intelligent debate.
All right. Well, cheers, guys.
Cheers. Oh my god, what do we think?
I don't know. I'm having a hard. This is a hard one because I definitely get the IPA. You get the hops. You get the IPA part of it.
Yeah.
I'm missing the Bloody Mary part. Honestly, it's.
But the Bloody Mary whole thing is so hard to capture in a beer. This is an attempt.
Yeah. I mean, there's a smokiness from the chipotle in there. There's a subtle smokiness to it, so it's not overpowering.
Yes.
I kind of wish there was more of a black pepper to this. Like they put more black peppercorns in it. And I kind of wish there had been a little more celery.
Maybe some heat. Maybe some chili heat.
Especially from because Bloody Marys are spicy. So I was expecting this to be a bit of a little more of a spice bomb.
Yeah.
And it's really not. It's kind of lacking in heat. It's lacking in celery. It's lacking in tomato. You get the smokiness from the chipotle.
No, I don't.
You don't at all?
No.
Do you get the smoke? I just taste the
I get
smokiness
it.
at this point.
I get it. I don't. It's not that I just tasted smokiness, but Martin is used to like these Icelandic volcano fucking beers that only taste of smoke
Yeah.
and sausage.
Sure. Maybe it's the smoke.
It's not like that like a Rausch German style like sausage beer.
And that wasn't what I expected, but I get like an earthy feeling. That might be the smoke that's
That's probably
tricking me.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've ever used like liquid smoke in something, It gives this kind of almost like an artificial smoked flavor to it. It's a bit like that. Like it's there, but it doesn't feel like it's coming from something organic.
Are you two referring to like an ashtray feeling?
A little bit,
because
yeah.
That's what I'm getting. That's the earthy.
I'd see how you can interpret it as that, because it is kind of. Excuse me. It is kind of a ashtray smokiness from the Chipotles.
Because then we're talking the same language, but
Yeah.
this actually doesn't work that well for me.
But I am surprised because this color is not supposed to taste like tomato. It's supposed to taste like, raspberry or something.
Yeah, because you want to think beets or raspberries or something with a real, reddish kind of tinge to it.
Yeah, I wanted more like a teal red.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just me.
Yeah, it lives up to Scarlet for sure, because it is definitely in the Scarlet family. But I would say this is a bit of a letdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool. There was an attempt, and you gotta applaud that.
But here,
you get an A for effort. Is that what you're saying?
Hey, I'm Swedish.
No, that's fine.
Everybody gets a cinnamon roll.
here I actually have a small criticism on the labeling, because all the previous one, Teal and Magenta, those fit perfectly with the beer. Here, Scarlet, the name fits, but the can, all of the cans have a different color. That's not Scarlet. It's like an orangey brown.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with you. I don't think because apparently in the past they had the color, the CMYK RGB color code on here. They didn't do that this time. They just kind of showed on a Photoshop palette where
color picker.
Color picker, where it would fall within that color range. I don't feel like this is a Scarlet color on the can either. Because when you think Scarlet, you think almost like a blood red.
Yes.
And the beer itself is very much in that color palette. But I gotta say, I am not a huge fan of this beer.
No.
I think it misses on the Bloody Mary part quite harsh.
Well, if that was the ambition, then it misses. But if they had advertised themselves as something else, then maybe we would have liked it.
Maybe
it's one of those things where you have to go by the intention on the packaging, on what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And not what, if this had been packaged as like a Chipotle IPA, that would be a different discussion. But this is supposed to be celery and black pepper and tomato. Do you find
no
celery or black pepper is really strong in beer?
Yeah.
But the problem that it's a bad beer, or is the problem that they marketed it wrong? Because I don't think this is bad.
I would say, it's like if you're going into a beer judging contest and somebody produces a great beer, but they put it in the wrong category, that beer is wrong for that category. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like this is what they've done here. They've made it's a good beer. Is it a Bloody Mary IPA?
No.
I would say no. And on that account, I think it only gets like a 2.25 for me.
Yeah.
If it was a lightly smoked IPA, I would give it maybe a 3.5. But I have to go by what the intention was on the can versus what I'm getting in the glass. And I feel like they really missed the boat here.
Look, I feel you, and this is a philosophical discussion that we don't have to have tonight.
No, we have to. This is what we're here for. We're drinking beers. We're debating.
Yeah, but the philosophical discussion you want to get into is, shouldn't you rate beer based on how they taste?
Just if you forget about the styles, you just have this beer in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a good beer? Well, yeah, it's kind of a good beer. I would rate it a 6 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Or a 3 out of 5 on Untapped. But you are being so critical because it's not a Bloody Mary IPA.
Because that's what they're selling it as.
Exactly.
If they were selling it as, if they had said this is a maple pecan stout, and you got this.
Your point is made. I hear you. But I'm in a tent now. I'm in an igloo.
Yeah.
And I'm drinking this beer and I'm kind of liking it. So, yeah. So what? It's not what they described on the can, but I'm liking it. So why not?
Yeah, so I'm in between here, where I think it fails on the style, and I also think it fails on the flavor.
So you're just negative to everything.
No, just this particular beer. I really like the previous two ones.
All right.
Yeah, but no, this is discussion that needs to be had, and this is bigger than the three of us.
All right, so you've been to. Let's just go. Let's open this box here, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Because you seem like this is where you're going to go.
Pandora's
I'm
box is
perfectly
open.
willing to have this conversation. So you've been in a lot of beer contests as a brewer.
Yes.
And how do you feel when you see how judges rate you and how you are judged in a contest?
Well, they are, and they already before tell you that they are rating beers according to not how qualitative you are. That's not an English word, but not how good you are, but how close
To the style you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you. And me and my partner Hannes, we don't do stuff that are close to a style. We don't aspire to do that. So we usually wind up in the specialty beer sort of category. I sort of want to break that. I think that's why should we be adhering to styles? It's so there are so many interesting things happening with beers. So why should we be adhering to these styles? I mean, yeah, it's maybe a good way to describe. Well, this is an IPA, and so you should know sort of what to expect. But other than that, why do we get judged on when we make the best stouts out there? And they fail us because this doesn't taste like a fucking Guinness. No, it doesn't.
Okay, but my question is, if you were to produce, because you've done a couple of mole stouts, which is a unique style, should not taste like a mole inspired flavors from that. Should you not, like when you pour it, should you not go, I see where you're getting the chili and the chocolate and the flavors off of that? Should it not be clear, like, because you indicated on the label what is in the bottle?
Yeah, but now you bring up mole stout in connection with beer judges, because mole stout is not a style.
It's not a style. It's not a style.
Mole stout will go into 11D modified beer in the same category as this Bloody Mary IPA.
All right, well, I'm circling back around. I'm talking about on the packaging of what you've created.
Yeah.
You've said this is a mole stout, this is a coconut stout, this is a Vietnamese coffee stout, right? Which is the styles you guys kind of play in quite often. Should I not expect when I open that beer for it to be a stout and it to have coconut, roasted coconut, or Vietnamese coffee-esque flavors, or a mole-inspired flavor? So I expect that kind of, like, how you push it and how you
what
direct
is your question
the
here?
So my question is, when I open the can, my expectations from the packaging, from the label of what you said, to where I pour it in the glass, should match those two things.
Yeah.
Right?
That should absolutely match.
All right, and so let's take this back to the Miss Scarlet here. As an IPA, what do you think of it as an IPA? Just straight, hands down, flat out IPA.
No, it's a terrible IPA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, adding the Bloody Mary elements to it, do you find it enhances or detracts from the IPA itself? Do you get the Bloody Mary part of it on top of that?
Yes, I get that.
Okay.
But
in what way?
No, but somebody has taken this style and done a remix. And done something fun with it. I'm not saying this is my favorite IPA in the world, but yeah, it's fun. Someone just played around with the style, and that has to be encouraged. This is what the new beer world is like.
Yeah, and Teal is in a very experimental brewery. I mean, they do not brew the same beer twice very often, and they're always coming up with new stuff. And that's why they're one of my favorite breweries, hands down. So I always applaud whatever they do, and I really love the fact that they play with styles and expectations. I just think that this one doesn't deliver as an IPA and doesn't deliver as a Bloody Mary style on top of that.
Yeah, but that's fine. If you don't like it, that's fine. I don't either. But they did something with it, and they played with the style, and we got something out of it.
I will say, take another smell of it. It's warmed up a little bit. It's not as cold as when we first started. It's had time to breathe a little bit.
Smells like when I cook soup.
You're right. The tomato's coming through now. I smell the tomato in the glass. I get that. I get a little of the celery now too. Like maybe it was a little too cold, so the flavors were a little bit muted.
Maybe a little onion.
Yeah, but this detracts from the rating for me because it doesn't hit the Bloody Mary.
Yeah, I think in the flavor it still is very thin and falls a little flat. So I'm still going to stick with my. I think what I gave it 2.25 rating on that. The chipotle is also becoming more pronounced as well. It's opening up a little bit more. So maybe it just needs to breathe a little bit. So Martin, I'll leave it to you. What do you think?
For me, it's a 2.
Okay.
For those 2 reasons, for me it misses the IPA slot and it misses the Bloody Mary slot.
Yeah. So and Karin, what do you think?
No, I'm not slaughtering this beer because as you may be aware, I don't give a shit about that. So I give this 3.5.
3.5. All right.
Putting it in the beer slot.
Yeah, beer.
All right. So since we're heavily invested in this beer, I love this conversation. You guys are doing great. I really love this. What would you do to make this better? Would you want it to be more Bloody Mary, or would you want it to be more hops?
Much more Bloody Mary.
Much more Bloody Mary.
Yeah, no more hops.
No more hops. So it's hoppy enough.
Yeah, it's hoppy. Tomato. But
I mean, I can bring some pepper. We can put some pepper on this.
and some Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah, and a little bit of horseradish and.
Yeah.
And some actual tomatoes.
Yeah.
And
you know what? Let's just have Bloody Marys after this. Okay. I think we beat that poor horse to the ground. Let's move on to the blackcurrant and plum triple, which I think we're all very excited about.
Yes.
This is the Miss Violet, and it says, enjoying seasonal gems from late summer gardens. This is a luscious, tart triple ale brewed with juicy blackcurrant and ripe purple plums. And this is 9%. The IPA came in at 6%.
And both of the other ones were 4.5.
All right, 4.5. Yeah. So there we go. So we're slowly increasing the alcohol content as well. All right. This has had time to warm up a little bit and really open up in the glass. I do get the plum and blackcurrant off
I get
the top.
blackcurrant directly.
very much blackcurrant, yeah.
Plum is really subtle in beer. It doesn't have much of a flavor on its own to begin with. So it's, for me, plum is always an interesting fruit to play with in beers.
Yeah, but it's kind of a base.
Yeah.
It's like barley. It's at the bottom of the. It lifts everything else.
Yeah.
So now we're getting into a concept that I brought up in a previous podcast.
Oh, yeah?
Where plums for me is nostalgic to my childhood, because me and my friends, when we were like 7 or 8 years old, would used to run into the neighbor's yard and steal his plums from his plum tree.
Yeah.
And for you, this was completely foreign concept. You would never run into another person's yard and steal their property. You would get shot, right?
No, I don't think I've ever said that. But it would be, you would probably ask someone if you could, or if you were 7 or 8, you would go into your neighbor's yard and steal their plums or apples or whatever. Pecans or peaches, I guess, where I grew up. But yeah.
We didn't have any of that. We had like apples and plums and cherries, and that was it.
Yeah, a lot of stone fruits up in the colder climates. But anyway, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
And this has a really nice, purplish color to it. It does, I think, feels like it's living up to the Mrs. Violet moniker.
It's quite murky.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's beautiful. Very tasty.
I could drink a lot of that.
Well, we have half a liter.
We do.
That one is really nice.
Yeah, this is just beautiful. Sweet, tart, sour. It's not like, sometimes with the Belgian triple, it becomes a little too boozy, I think.
Yeah.
But this doesn't taste boozy at all.
But for me, Belgian triples are very much connected to a yeast flavor. And I definitely get a yeasty aftertaste here. So when we're talking about style, this is much more in line with the original style with added fruit on top. That's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
If we continue on your beer judging, it wouldn't be a triple.
No, it would
Because
not.
that's fruit. It also goes into other modified beer.
Well, I mean, all of these are
11D.
other modified beers. I would say.
exactly.
I mean, we will take that off the table.
Yeah,
that's a given kind of thing.
But that's what I wanted to get to, where when it comes to beer judges and their styles. Most beers we try nowadays goes into other modified beer. So comparing those beers to each other is almost madness.
Yeah. So, Karin, what do you think of the Mrs. Violet?
I usually don't like sour beers, but this one spoke to me. It has a sort of a barley yeasty quality to it. It has a weight. I like that. And with like a fruit layer on top of it. So this is like, I want to compare it to a very young white wine. Maybe
I can see that.
A young Sauterne.
Yeah.
And I usually don't like sour beers, but this is my jam. The fruit really comes through, and I like it.
I think the plum balances the black currant and kind of tames the triple a little bit.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a solid beer. I'm absolutely loving this.
I want to see what aging would do to this beer.
I bet that'd be pretty interesting. Because it's got a lot going on, and I bet in a year it would be a very different beer.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone will do it, but if anyone will, and please reach out to me. In a year, I would like to see what this would taste like.
Right, well, Karin, what do you rate this one?
Oh my god! At this point, it's very. It's in Swedish I would say spretig. It's sort of
goes in many directions.
Yeah, in many directions, many different flavors. It's very sour and very sweet and very barley. So I would give it a 6 out of 10 right now, or a 3 out of 5.
All right.
But I'm. It has quality to it.
Yeah.
This is not a bad.
So for me, this one hits up. It makes a lot of different light bulbs light up in a very positive way. It across the board, like you say, it goes in many different directions. But for me, it actually reaches those directions.
Yeah.
It reaches the plum and the currants and the triple. So I'm going 4.25. I'm super surprised at this beer.
I have to agree with you. I am also going to give it a 4.25. I think it's just hands down the best of the lot so far. Really surprised me at how interesting and complex a beer it is. Okay, and moving on to
Mrs. Black.
Mrs. Black, Licorice and Date Imperial Stout. Rich dates lie on a bed of licorice stout, culminating in a wonderful amalgamation of things we can't get enough of.
So here's where it's time for a disclaimer, where I know that Karin does not like licorice, and I need to say that I love licorice. I absolutely love it.
I have an appreciation of licorice. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's something that I've grown to appreciate. And I will say, just off of the first smell, it just smells like a sweet stout. I mean,
I can smell
There's
the licorice.
a lot of licorice.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of licorice in there? All right, maybe
yeah,
I'm not.
it's lots.
You can use us as litmus paper.
Okay, so it's the acids and bases here,
Yes.
so we know which way we're rolling on this. All right, but I love the smell of this. I think it's quite intoxicating. Comes in at a 10% ABV.
Yeah.
A rich aroma.
So,
All right, so Karin's like, let's just get this over with.
yeah, just fucking bleep that.
I don't find it licoricey. I find it caramel and a little smoky.
That is terrible.
Chocolate? Nope.
Nope. That is absolutely terrible.
There is some licorice in the flavor.
No, there's lots of licorice and then there's salt.
There's salt. It's almost like a salted caramel flavor to it.
Yes.
Yeah, then that's. I'm sorry. I'm one of those people who can't deal with licorice, and I think this is terrible. But if you like licorice, you will love this.
Yeah. So there's there's a lot of salty licorice, but we've had licorice beers that were much worse because I think the dates are totally balancing. Without the dates, this would be extremely licoricey. Mm-hmm. And I really like this addition of the dates because I think I can feel them.
You're not wrong. We've had worse, but this is.
Yeah, I would say on the spectrum of licorice beers, this is somewhere kind of in the middle. It's not like no licorice at all, but it's not like just a huge licorice bomb. Like sometimes you get them, and you're just like, whoa, they definitely went licorice on this. I think this is, I think it's very subjective depending on how much you like or hate licorice. I don't get the numbing licorice flavor you get sometimes from like really super licorice stouts, but it's just roasty and chocolate, like a salted caramel in there. I find it extremely complex and interesting.
Yeah. So now we get to a Swedish reference where we had as children a candy called hockey powder. It was like a snooze, a box of snooze,
like a hockey puck.
Yeah, like a hockey puck, completely filled with salt licorice powder.
That sounds horrible.
So you wet your finger, you put your finger in it, and then you licked your finger.
And this is something you would give to children to punish them for doing bad?
Yeah, in their Christmas stockings.
Right. So instead of coal, there was just like that hockey puck, and they were just like, oh, damn it. It's kind of like a Halloween in the U.S. when you get this like black or orange wax peanut butter candy that just tastes horrible. It's just disgusting. It's gross.
No, but we give hockey powder to kids to wean them onto the licorice flavor.
So there's a conditioning element to teach them how to eat all of that nasty salt licorice and like licorice gum. And
that didn't happen to me. But I grew up fancy, so
licorice is a commoner's treat. You couldn't be bothered.
Okay, so to be fair, hockey powder was a really cheap candy.
You can still find it in Sweden. It is everywhere, and Scandinavia loves licorice in a way that I truly do not understand. When you go to the store and you see like licorice gums and licorice like breath mints and licorice, I don't get it.
It's because we were poor.
Is that what it was? And licorice was cheap and easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, we could grow it ourselves.
It grows wild in your backyard and you can easily get it. Yeah.
For us Swedes, it's mostly that we want to be better friends with our Finnish Eastern neighbors.
Who doesn't?
Everyone wants to be friends with them. They're like our shield towards Russia. Do we want to be?
Yeah, okay. But we actually train soldiers specifically not to defend Sweden, but to defend Finland.
Yeah, that's great. We want to be friends with Finland. That's where we have fjälljägare.
But they are very depressed all the time.
And we want to make them
less depressed. They think that Mumintrollen is appropriate children's cartoons, and that is very dark.
Okay, as far as I know, all Finns avoid, like Nokia was created so Finns wouldn't have to talk to each other. That was the reference I got when I first moved here, because they could text. They wouldn't have to like be in a crowded room and have actual interactions, and you had to look out because all of them had vodka and a knife on them at all times. Mm-hmm. So that was the joke I heard.
But there's a reason why licorice comes from the salmiakki root. Mm-hmm. It's a Finnish invention in my mind.
Okay.
Is it?
Salmiakki. No other language could come up with such a word.
No, maybe you're right.
It's true. There's like 2 or 3 A's in a row there to spell that. Yeah. It's a bizarre word.
You're gonna get some reactions to this because I don't think that's true. But please write to Stefan at What's on Tap.
Yeah, you can leave a comment on any of our social media platforms about how you feel about salmiak and licorice. Because when I talk to my friends in the U.S., they are not licorice fans in any way. In fact, we never eat licorice outside of red licorice, which is basically like
super sweet
wax candy. Yeah. But I feel
is that like Twizzlers? No,
it is. It's Twizzlers. Yes, it is Twizzlers. Yeah, red vines are also the same thing. So Martin, how do you want to rate this one?
This one also hits a lot of my personal light bulbs. The licorice is really nice without going overboard. I really think I can taste the dates, and it's a rich and full imperial stout. So I'm in a good mood, and I'm pushing it up to 4.5.
All right, Karin, do you want to review this, or do you just want to take a pass since you loathe licorice to such an extent?
I really, the brewers have made an effort and they've made a good beer, and really the problem is with me because I don't like licorice. But if I have to review it, it'll have to land on like a 1.5.
Okay.
And I'm very sorry, but that's just because I don't like licorice.
That's perfectly understandable, and I completely understand that sentiment altogether. Although, Martin, I have to agree with you. I think this might be the best of the lot. I think they've created a lot of complexity. There's a lot going on here. I think that the Miss Violet was also exceptional because there was so many different things it was hitting. I did not expect the roastedness. I didn't expect the salted caramel flavors along with it. So I'm also going to give it a 4.5. I think it was very interesting and complex. And
so I just did an experiment, and I have to give you the tip. Totally go back to Miss Violet, the plum and
The plum?
you totally taste it now after the sweet licorice date stout, because this lifts the triple.
Oh yeah, I would say also go back to the Miss Magenta, because the strawberry is really popping now. It's really, you get it in the nose as well as the mouthful, much more than when it first opened.
Yeah, there's a lot more strawberry in it now.
Yeah, the strawberry is really opened up in a way that I don't think was there to begin with. So I think the takeaway overall is when you open these, let them breathe a little bit, let them warm up, maybe come closer to room temperature. I think the flavors expand and become a little more complex, and you get more of what is on the can. Miss Scarlet can still go fuck itself.
But I have to ask a question here. Are we really supposed to drink them all side by side like this? Is that the intention?
I would say if you're a brewer and you're releasing 6 beers at the exact same time, the idea is that you do the smorgasbord and you try them all, and you rate them on their own or in the collection. I think that's kind of part of the intention of it. I mean, you could have each one of these individually on different days and just enjoy it for what it is. I think you'd have a wonderful expectations, a wonderful experience overall. But I kind of feel like if you're going to release a set, it's meant to be part of a experience. Because I mean, that's just how I feel personally.
Because as a beer tasting, this was a very weird pairing of beers.
Oh, by far, yes.
There's not it's not like a staircase where you go like, oh, and then the next step, oh, it introduces something new. We're just being thrown around like a pinball.
and maybe if you had the Earl Grey tea one, maybe it fits somewhere between the Berliner Weiss and the IPA. To kind of maybe bridge that gap a little bit.
Maybe.
But to go from the Bloody Mary IPA into the plum and black currant triple is very, very different. It's a very jarring transition.
This probably isn't as planned as you guys want to think it is. Being a brewer, I know that sometimes things go wrong, sometimes we plan wrong, sometimes... And sometimes we just have... Okay, we have these 5 beers ready to go for this festival. They're vastly different and they don't match. Well, fuck it. That's what we have.
But I mean, that's a different thing than producing a line called the Mrs. Series. It is a series of beers to be part of an overall product.
Yeah, but production is hard.
I'm not saying it's not hard. And to do 6 beers at the exact same time with wildly varying styles is got to be a Herculean feat to be able to produce that in a mass quantity, much less at a tap room. So I applaud them. And I would say, overall, I think this is an excellent experiment. I love what they're doing. I would say I would rate the overall experience to try so many different things and so many different styles to really push boundaries and try to introduce people to new concepts. I mean, I would give this like a 5 out of 5 for everything.
For effort,
just pure audacity alone is really incredible.
Yeah.
How would you rate the overall experience there, Martin?
Because I think they're so vastly different, I rate the experience lower. Like a beer tasting, it's maximum 3 out of 5, but the individual beers make up for it.
Mm-hmm. So the sum of the parts not equal the whole is what you're saying.
No, but when I try to make a beer tasting, I try to have a red.
A red line that goes through everything.
A red thread that goes through everything, and I'm missing that here.
Okay.
So many of these beers are amazing as a individual part, but then it's not connected to the beer next to it.
Okay. And Karin, what do you think?
Kind of agreeing with you. Yeah, no, they're just they just kind of threw this out there, but it's okay to be experimental. It must be.
Yeah, of course.
And so I don't want to diss this whole thing that they've been doing, but the attempt was sorry, that was my phone. Maybe 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
But they've been doing some great stuff, and I love it when people experiment.
Yeah.
We should really not take that away from breweries, because some really great stuff happen when, and I mean, we have some really good beers in front of us.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever gave a rating to Miss Magenta, the dragon fruit and raspberry, but
It's strawberry.
Strawberry, yeah. But it is a 4 out of 5 on the Untapped scale. It's really good.
Yeah, I think it really has opened up a lot more. Now it's got a little bit warmer, and you definitely get the strawberry on the nose like you didn't get when we first poured it. Well, all right, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. I really appreciate your feedback and your input here. I think it's been a lot of fun to try these. I highly recommend going out and getting the whole set and try it as a set, try it individually, however you think suits you best. I think Teal is continuing in the tradition of doing experimental stuff and creating new concepts and things for you to try out. And I think the Mrs. series falls in that line perfectly. And even though it's like Mrs., and so you might think like, oh, well, it's not as exciting as the Mr. series because, of course, psychologically, I think we kind of put everything in that male versus female, where the female version maybe isn't as strong as the male version. I don't think they've done that here. I think they've put out some really incredible, interesting things to try overall.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like that you bring the non-sexist perspective into this.
Yeah, I try. I don't know that I would succeed, but I try. So any final thoughts on this before we wrap up?
Drink up, you dum-dum.
Drink up. Well, that's our... Jumping the gun here, buddy. Karin, any final thoughts before we sign off?
No. Thank you so much, Stefan. For
I told you at the start that I was going to try to take over this.
You're doing a horrible job at it. So you can find us online at what'suntappedpodcast.com, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever fine podcasts are found, you'll probably find us as well.
Carrier Pigeon.
Carrier Pigeon. That's the best way to listen to podcasts. I always recommend Carrier Pigeon whenever you get the chance. So until next time,
drink up, you dum-dum.
There you go. So this is a little supplemental addition to the Teal Mrs. series. I am in Germany, in Hamburg, and I wandered into a beer shop called Beyond Beer, and they happened to have all of the Teal beers from the Mrs. series there, and so I was able to pick up the Mrs. Grey, Earl Grey Bière de God, which is the one can missing from our epic Teal Mrs. series review. So I thought I would just tack this on to the episode. Unfortunately, Karin and Martin can't be here with me because that would be That would be kind of weird. So we've got an Earl Grey Beer to God carrying citrus notes with warm and spicy tones, finishing in a punch of fragrance. And it comes in at 7% ABV. And I will say this is rather clear, kind of amber in color. It's got a nice frothy head on it. Smell-wise, it kind of is floral in its smell a little bit. Taste-wise, it's a bit caramelly. I guess a bit of the Earl Grey tea, but I don't know that it's overwhelmingly Earl Greyish. I don't get a huge tea flavor from it. It's I'm not, the Beer to God is not a style that I'm overly familiar with. So I would say this is kind of closer to almost a Belgian style. Yeah, maybe Belgian, bit Germany kind of. It's brewed with wheat, so I'm thinking there might be a little bit of a Hefeweizen flavorish to it, but not like the banana, cloudy Hefeweizen, flavor that you think of, but more of a kind of a lighter, I said caramelly, dry. It's hard to describe. It comes off a little boozier than the 7% plays. That's why I feel it's a little bit more of a Belgian style. Overall, it's a pretty good beer. I would give it somewhere around a 3.5. If you put it in the context of the other beers, it does kind of help bridge that gap from the Goza and the Berliner Weiss into the IPA. I think it kind of fits neatly in that area. It's not a overly remarkable beer. It's just kind of a middle of the road, forgettable kind of beer. Like, I'm glad I tried it, so I have completed the experience. But it's largely forgettable. I don't think I would ever go for this again. Wherefore, like, unlike the Goza or the Berliner Weiss, which I would definitely get again, and the triple, which was amazing. This is one that is kind of one and done. I don't think anyone's going to be clamoring to get a hold of this for a second or third time. So yeah, that's what I thought of the Miss Grey. Now you have the complete review of the series. I hope you enjoyed.